no longer be known as the Duke of York, and he will also lose his title Prince and his style of His Royal Highness.
And let's get some more news on that. Breaking news this evening. Buckingham Palace has announced that Prince Andrew is to leave Royal Lodge and lose his title. He will now be known as Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. Let's speak to royal reporter Sarah Hewson, who has more details. Sarah, good evening.
Evening to you, Kate.
OK, so let's talk about the mechanism by which Prince Andrew will lose his title.
Yes. Now, this is a removal process. So obviously, 10 days ago now, nearly 2 weeks ago now, we had the notification that Prince Andrew was voluntarily relinquishing his titles. He wasn't going to use them. He is now going to have them taken away from him. And the mechanism is an interesting one, because this isn't going through an act of parliament, which we had expected that it would need to in order to strip him of his titles. The king, conscious that he doesn't want to waste vital parliamentary time that could be used for more urgent matters. And so this is going through with consultation with the government. It is going through the Lord Chancellor, and the Dukedom of York, a peerage, is going to be removed from the peerage roll. And that will mean that he will no longer be known as the Duke of York, and he will also lose his title Prince and his style of His Royal Highness. In addition, Kate, he is going to move out of Royal Lodge. Because of that cast iron lease, they haven't been able to serve notice on him. He has to serve notice on himself in order to leave. And he is going to be moving to, we are told, a private property on the Sandringham estate. We know we've been reporting over the past few days that he and Sarah Ferguson had apparently been calling for 2 properties on the Windsor estate. They'd wanted to stay there. They had been interested in Frogmore Cottage, Prince Harry and Meghan's former home, and Adelaide Cottage, the current but soon to be former home of the Prince and Princess of Wales and their family. That is owned by the Crown Estate, and that is one of the properties that is in the public portfolio owned by the Crown. Sandringham is different because Sandringham is a private property owned by the monarch, and therefore the king will be funding any accommodation costs for Prince Andrew.
So the older brother bailing his younger brother out in terms of the property situation, which is a recognition, is it not, Sarah? Maybe I'm reading between the lines here, that Andrew doesn't have the means to fund himself, or is this, do you think, King Charles's his offering to Andrew because he's being stripped of all his titles?
Well, Prince Andrew's finances, we're going to have to get used to not calling him Prince Andrew.
Yes, ex-Prince.
Ex-Prince, Andrew formerly known as Prince. His finances have always been somewhat murky. It's not clear whether he does have the funds for himself, but a private property on the Sandringham estate is being given to him. They're not going to give us the details of which property. I think there is some concern for well-being of all of those involved, and that is certainly something that Buckingham Palace has been bearing in mind in this and asking the media to bear in mind. But there is a very interesting line in the statement released from Buckingham Palace that it says these measures are deemed necessary, notwithstanding the fact that he continues to deny the allegations against him. Their Majesties wish to make clear that their thoughts and utmost sympathies have been and will remain with the victims and survivors of any and all.
Oh, we've lost the line with you briefly, but it's that sympathies have been and will remain with the victims and survivors of any and all forms of abuse. Sarah, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Kate.
You're back.
I don't know whether you heard. So
yes.
The last bit of the
did.
statement from Buckingham Palace, their thoughts with victims and survivors of abuse. I think there's been an awful lot of pressure on the royal family, on the king in particular, to be seen to be taking concrete action. The decision that was made less than 2 weeks ago in order for Prince Andrew to voluntarily relinquish his titles did nothing to quieten the noise about this. The heckler that heckled the king when he was at Lichfield Cathedral earlier on this week in many ways spoke for the nation and the public when asking, how long have you known about Prince Andrew and his associations with Jeffrey Epstein, and effectively saying, are the royal family being soft on Andrew? This is the King's definitive and concrete action to show that they are taking this very seriously, maintaining the point that Andrew has always denied the allegations against him, but the fact that he has made some serious errors of judgment and therefore serious action needed to be taken.
Yeah, look, a couple of questions. Do we know what Sarah Ferguson, if she will move to this property on the private Sandringham estate too? Is there any light on that?
No, there's no information about what is going to happen to Sarah Ferguson. She has been living at Royal Lodge with her ex-husband. She described them as the happiest divorced couple that she knew. But they have obviously both been under enormous strain and under enormous scrutiny of late. Initially, this was all about Andrew's associations with Jeffrey Epstein. Sarah Ferguson had been able to distance herself from them, but the publication of an email from her in which she called him her supreme friend and apologized for distancing herself from him publicly has meant that she too finds herself tarnished irreparably, I think, by this association with the convicted paedophile Jeffrey Epstein. They had wanted a second property for her. We don't get any information about that at this stage.
So that's still to be ascertained. And Andrew's daughters, Princess Eugenie and Princess Beatrice, will they be able to remain princesses?
Yes. Kate, they will remain princesses. Their titles do not change. The briefing that we're getting is that they were set out in 1917 by the letters patent. They remain Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie. That doesn't change. And I think when they talk about the well-being and being mindful of that, certainly the princesses will be front and centre of that, because this has been extremely difficult for them to see both their mother and father so mired in scandal. But serious lapses of judgment by Prince Andrew, as the royal family see it, are what has led to this. And I think this is about time. Something had to be done. This was snowballing out of all control, and the King had to act to try and stop this.
Sarah Hewson, really good to speak to you. Thank you very much for letting us grab you at short notice. Royal reporter Sarah Hewson there on the news that Prince Andrew has been stripped of his title. He'll actually lose the title of Prince. He'll also lose all his other titles and honours as well. They'll all be formally removed. He'll now be known as Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, and he'll also leave his Windsor Mansion Royal Lodge. He'll move instead, at the expense of the King, to a house on the private Sandringham estate.